Fear, noun, an unpleasant emotion caused by the threat of danger, pain, or harm. Synonyms: terror, fright, horror, alarm, panic, agitation, trepidation, dread, consternation, dismay, distress. Who knows what frightened Alice so much? We rescued her on the brink of death, emaciated and with mange and leishmania. For weeks she looked that she wasn't really alive. All she did was breathe and shake from the fear. Hunting dogs like her come to us after they've been through hell. They've been mistreated and neglected and hurt. Being a working hunting dog is hard work. They're the less privileged of all. They have to be tough and strong and hardened. That life must have been too much for her, someone so delicate and so fragile. When we gave her her first bath at the shelter, she just stood still. Not a sound, not a move. There was something about the way she responded to all that caring and handling that made the whole thing poetic. Maybe she enjoyed it. Or maybe she was just frozen from the fear of the unknown. We thought she'd grow out of it in time. Most of them do. They come broken and terrified and usually end up confident, happy dogs. But she didn't. A year later, Alice was emotionally the same dog we had rescued. She had the same insecurities, the same anxieties, the same terror in her eyes about everything and everyone. The slightest noise would terrify her. Everything new, even a walk to the park, seemed too much for her. As if life was a horrible nightmare that she was trapped in, and the only thing familiar was that constant attempt to hide from everything, to disappear. Imagine being terrified 24/7, being trapped in a never-ending horror story where everything is unfamiliar and weird and dangerous. Like Alice in Wonderland, she seemed trapped in a place like no place on earth, a land full of wonder and mystery and danger, where every second lasted forever. In that fantasy world populated by peculiar anthropomorphic creatures that she was trapped in with no way out of that rabbit hole she had fallen into, the only thing anyone could offer her was to let her be. We let Alice be Alice. We didn't really try to make her understand the world because the world was too big and noisy, and she was too fragile and too sensitive. If we forget the fairy tale for just a while, basically dogs like her cannot easily be rehabilitated in shelters. You can help them take baby steps into becoming more functional, and that's about it. And finding a home for such a fearful dog is not easy. It just looks like much work, even though it isn't. They just need one person to love and to trust, just one, that is there every day, that is consistent and patient and considerate. That seemed impossible for months. But when Alice says this is impossible, the Mad Hatter replies, only if you believe it is. Now, why would a couple with 4 dogs already choose to adopt Alice will remain a mystery, I guess, to most of you. But it wasn't for all of us who knew that couple, and we've called them crazy many times in the most affectionate, flattering way you can use this word. I don't think there could be a better home for Alice. Usually rehoming a dog with behavioral issues comes with a lot of communication back and forth, advice and training tips and anxiety. But Sophie and Franjo didn't need advice. All they asked was for some raw footage of her just being at the shelter so they could see her for who she really was, and that was it. Sophie came to pick her up one day, 2 months ago. Alice took one last glimpse from inside her box of the world she was terrified of. And a few hours later, life just gradually stopped being so terrifying and started becoming fun and sweet and wet and carefree and interesting. As Alice in Wonderland says, I knew who I was this morning, but I've changed a few times since then. It's no use going back to yesterday because I was a different person then. Every adventure requires a first step, and from now on, the adventure is hers to do what she wants with it. This is her dream, and she decides where she'll go from here. And that's enough of Alice in Wonderland quotes, I guess. This is the end to this story for us. From now on, she can start writing her own.
So, four ladies, 4 sweet ladies, 5 sweet ladies. Super.